Welcome to Inside Insights, your quick hit of tips, tools, and trends for manufacturing, distribution, and Dynamics 365 Business Central. Brought to you by InsightWorks.
I want you to picture a very specific kind of stress.
Okay.
It is 2:00 p.m. on a Tuesday. You walk out onto a factory floor. It's loud, the machines are humming, people are moving around in safety vests.
That looks productive.
Right, it looks incredibly productive. But then you walk over to the floor manager and you see the look in their eyes.
The Tuesday afternoon 1,000-yard stare.
Exactly. And you ask, how are we doing on that rush order for the big client? And the manager points to a machine that is just sitting there, dead silent.
Let me guess. Waiting on materials.
Waiting on materials. And then they point to another machine that's down for maintenance. And a third machine is running full tilt, but it is making parts for an order that isn't due for 3 weeks.
Because the operator just wanted to keep the machine busy.
Yes, because nobody wants to look idle.
That is, that's the textbook definition of manufacturing chaos.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally reactive. You are fighting fires, chasing parts, and effectively just guessing.
Guessing to survive the shift. And the scary part is that for a lot of companies, that is just business as usual.
Yeah.
So that is the exact vibe we are tackling in today's deep dive. We are looking at how to flip that script for you. How do we move from that hair-on-fire reactive mode to what our sources call predictive precision?
Which is the dream.
It is. We are digging into the production puzzle today. And to do that, we've pulled together a stack of technical documentation, some white papers, and analysis focusing specifically on the Microsoft stack.
Right, specifically Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. We'll just call it BC for short today.
Good call. And we are looking at a very specific solution that integrates with it called MXAPS by InsightWorks.
And I think the core argument from these sources is fascinating. It basically suggests that the software you trust to run your business might actually be the very thing causing all that chaos.
Which is a huge, bold claim. I mean, you buy these incredibly expensive ERP systems to solve problems, not create them.
You would hope so, yeah.
So let's unpack that right out of the gate. If I am a manufacturer and I'm using Business Central just out of the box, what is happening under the hood that leads to that guy pulling his hair out on a Tuesday?
Well, it really comes down to how the system thinks about time and space. Standard Business Central uses something called MRP.
Okay, MRP. That is an acronym I feel like I hear constantly in this space.
It's the absolute standard. It stands for Material Requirements Planning. And look, as the name suggests, it is brilliant at planning materials.
Right.
It looks at an order, breaks it down, and says, to build this specific chair, you need 4 legs and a seat. If you don't have them in inventory, it tells you to go buy them.
So far, so good. If I have the wood, I can build the chair. That makes perfect sense.
It does. But here's the catch. When you ask basic MRP to plan when to actually build the chair, it uses a logic called backward scheduling.
Backward scheduling.
Yeah.
Which honestly sounds pretty logical on the surface.
It does sound logical. You have due date, let's say Friday. The system knows it takes 2 days to assemble the chair, so it just does the basic math. Friday minus 2 days equals Wednesday.
So the system tells you to start on Wednesday.
Exactly.
But wait, that is literally how I plan my own life. If I have a flight at 5:00 p.m. and it takes an hour to drive to the airport, I leave at 4 p.m. Why is that a problem for a massive factory?
Because when you drive to the airport, you are the only variable. You have your car, your keys, and you go. In a factory, you are competing for resources. The fundamental flaw with the basic BC setup, and really most standard ERPs, is that it operates on this massive assumption. It's called infinite capacity.
Infinite capacity. I love that term. It sounds like a superpower, or maybe a really expensive hard drive.
In manufacturing, it's a trap. It means the software just assumes you have unlimited resources, infinite machines, infinite people, infinite hours in the day.
Wait, really? So if I have 10 different orders that are all due on Friday...
The system looks at the due date for all 10 of them. It counts backward for all 10 of them.
Yeah.
And it tells you to start all 10 of them on Wednesday at 8:00 a.m.
Even if I only have one machine to do the work.
Yep. The software doesn't know you only have one machine unless you heavily customize it. It just sees the math. 10 orders due Friday, start them all Wednesday. Mathematically, it's perfect. Physically, it is entirely impossible.
Okay, I have to use my favorite analogy for this because it just fits so perfectly. It's Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh, perfect. Go for it.
You have a 20-pound turkey, 3 different casseroles, a pie, and some rolls. Dinner is at 5:00 p.m.
No.
Backward scheduling says, okay, the turkey takes 4 hours, casseroles take an hour, pie takes an hour. Great. Put everything in the oven at 1 p.m.
Right. Just shove it all in.
But I only have one oven. I physically cannot fit infinite turkeys and pies in there at the same time.
Exactly. Physics has finally entered the chat. And that is exactly what happens on the shop floor every single day. The schedule on the screen says, do this, and the floor manager looks at their one machine and says, I physically can't.
So what do?
They stop trusting the software entirely.
And that's when the spreadsheets come out.
Precisely. They print out the list, grab a clipboard, and start manually prioritizing. Okay, we'll do the big client first. Sorry about the small client. And suddenly, you aren't using your expensive ERP system anymore. You are guessing.
And you lose all the benefits of automation. You aren't sequencing things efficiently. You're just trying to survive the shift without getting yelled at.
Which brings us directly to the solution analyzed in our source material. We are looking at MXAPS. It's an extension that plugs right into Business Central. And the entire claim here is that it shifts the philosophy completely from infinite capacity to finite capacity.
Okay, but before we get into the nuts and bolts of how it does that, does it actually work? Because we all know software companies love to promise the moon.
The stats in the analysis are actually pretty aggressive. They claim this tool can reduce planning time by 50 to 70%.
50 to 70, that is massive. That's hours and hours back in your day.
And probably more importantly for the bottom line, it boosts on-time delivery rates by 20 to 30%.
Okay, so that is real money. If you aren't late, you aren't paying for expedited shipping, you aren't dealing with penalties, and you aren't losing customers.
Exactly.
So how does it do it? Does it just calculate the math faster?
No, it changes the kind of math it's doing. It shifts entirely to finite capacity scheduling.
So it actually acknowledges the size of the oven.
Exactly. It models your actual shop floor. It knows you have 3 CNC machines, 2 welders, and this is key. It knows you only have 1 forklift driver on the night shift. It takes all those constraints and uses forward scheduling.
Walk me through forward scheduling. How is that functionally different from the backward method?
Instead of starting at a fantasy due date and working backward, it starts at now. It asks, okay, it is Tuesday at 2:00 p.m. Machine A is busy until 4:00. Machine B is down for maintenance. When is the soonest we can realistically start this job?
So it's dealing in reality. It is looking for the first open slot that actually fits the physical constraints.
Yeah, it builds the schedule forward, slotting jobs into the available windows like Tetris blocks. It accounts for things like resource fences.
Resource fences?
Yeah, it's just a fancy way of saying periods where a machine absolutely cannot be interrupted. Like if it's running a delicate process or undergoing planned maintenance, it accounts for all those operational lags.
So the output isn't a wish list anymore. It's an actual roadmap.
Precisely. And that creates trust. When the system gives you a date now, you know it is based on physics, not just a blind calendar calculation.
Let's dig into some of the specific features, because the source material had these really interesting examples of aha moments where the software catches things a human planner might just completely miss. The one that really caught my eye was simultaneous operations.
Oh, this is a huge one for efficiency, especially when it comes to labor.
Right, because usually software just links a person to a machine, right? Like if the machine is running, the person is marked as busy.
That is the standard logic.
Yeah.
But think about a modern CNC machine. The operator spends maybe 15 minutes setting it up, loading the material, calibrating the tool, making sure it's safe. Then they hit the green button, and the machine runs for 2 hours completely on its own.
So in a basic system, does it block out that operator for the full 2 hours?
Often, yes. The system sees that job A takes 2 hours, so it allocates operator Steve for 2 hours, even though Steve is literally just standing there watching the machine hum.
That feels like a massive waste of Steve's time.
It is. MXAPS is smart enough to decouple them. It models labor as a finite shared resource. It knows Steve is needed for the setup phase, but once that run phase starts, Steve is released back into the labor pool.
So while machine A is running, he can walk over and set up machine B.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can have one skilled operator keeping 3 or 4 machines running simultaneously. The software schedules the operator's time completely separately from the machine's time.
You are literally unlocking hidden capacity. You didn't hire more people, you didn't buy more machines, you just told the software the truth about how work gets done on the floor.
And it prevents the nightmare scenario,
Which is what?
where the software schedules 3 machines to run because the machines are technically open, but you only have one guy on shift who knows how to run them.
Oh, right. The ghost ship scenario. Machines are ready, material is there, but nobody is around to push the button.
Finite capacity scheduling prevents that entirely.
Yep.
It will not schedule the machine if the required human isn't available.
Another feature that seemed really practical in the reading was smart sequencing. This feels like the difference between just doing things in order and doing things intelligently.
This addresses setup churn, which is honestly the silent killer of productivity. Imagine you are painting a house.
Okay, I'm with you.
You have 3 rooms to paint red and 3 rooms to paint blue. If you follow the strict order they were requested and you might paint a red room, then clean all your brushes, paint a blue room, clean your brushes again, then go back to a red room.
That would be insane. You would spend half your day just washing brushes in the sink. You would obviously do all the red rooms first.
Humans know that intuitively. Basic ERP systems do not. They usually just look at the due date. If the blue room is due first, it schedules blue, then red, then blue again.
So in a factory setting, you're constantly tearing down and setting up machines, changing dies, swapping molds, cleaning out hoppers.
Which creates massive downtime and wastes raw material. MXAPS looks at the actual attributes of the orders. It sees that orders 1, 5, and 10 all require the red die. It groups them together.
It campaigns them.
Yes. It creates a single production run where you set up the machine once, run all the red parts, and then switch. The source material emphasizes that this single feature alone can recover hours of production time every single week.
It's such a simple concept group like items, but if your software can't see the attributes, it can't make the decision.
Correct. The software needs to deeply understand that red is a physical constraint or a grouping factor, not just a text label sitting on an invoice somewhere.
There was one more feature in this bucket called alternate routings. Is that kind of like when your GPS reroutes you around a traffic jam?
That is a perfect analogy.
Mm-hmm.
In manufacturing, you usually have a preferred way to make something. Maybe it is the brand new high-speed laser cutter.
Everyone wants to use the new toy.
Exactly. So everyone schedules their jobs for the laser cutter. The queue gets backed up for days. Meanwhile, you have an older plasma cutter sitting in the corner gathering dust. It's 20% slower, but it is free right now.
So the system has to decide. Is it better to wait 3 days for the fast machine or start right now on the slow machine?
And that is a really complex mathematical calculation. MXAPS can automatically look at the load. It balances the work centers. It might say, hey, send this job to the plasma cutter. Yes, it takes 10 minutes longer to actually cut the metal, but you will ship the final product 2 days earlier because you weren't waiting in line.
It balances the load across the whole shop floor automatically. That seems like it would just smooth out so many bottlenecks before they even happen.
It creates flow.
Yeah.
And flow is exactly what you want in manufacturing.
Okay, I want to switch gears here to the human side of this. Specifically, the eternal, ongoing war between sales and production.
A tale as old as time.
The salesperson says, hey, I promised the customer they'd have it by Tuesday. And the production manager says, you did what?
And usually the production manager has to stop whatever they're doing, go to the spreadsheet, try to move things around, see if they can somehow squeeze it in. It is stressful and highly prone to error.
The sources talk about a what-if analysis and a sandbox feature. This sounds like the peace treaty for that exact war.
It really is.
Yeah.
The sandbox allows a user, even a salesperson, to make a complete copy of the live schedule. They can play around in that copy without breaking a single thing in the real world.
So they can drag that hypothetical rush order onto the timeline and just see what happens.
They can simulate it perfectly. If I drop this rush order in for Tuesday, what happens to all the other jobs? The system recalculates instantly and says, okay, you can do the rush order, but it will push customer B's order out to Thursday.
That is powerful because now the salesperson isn't just blindly guessing. They can call customer B and say, hey, we are running a bit late. Or they can tell the rush customer, we can't do Tuesday, but we can definitely do Thursday.
It is data-driven negotiation. You aren't arguing about opinions or feelings anymore. You are looking at the actual impact. You can do this for maintenance too. What if machine A breaks down tomorrow? You can simulate the breakdown and see the ripple effect immediately.
And there was a note in the sources about the visual aspect here, the Gantt charts. The source specifically mentioned a detail about hiding non-working days. That sounds kind of trivial, but why did they flag it?
It is entirely about cognitive load. If you look at a standard calendar view, Saturdays and Sundays take up visual space on the screen. If a job starts on Friday and ends on Tuesday, visually it looks like a really long bar 5 days long.
But it's really only 2 actual work days.
Right. By hiding the weekends, the visual bar represents the actual effort being expended. It aligns the visual representation with the mental model of the human planner. It makes the chart readable. Because if the chart is cluttered with irrelevant white space, People just stop using it.
It sounds like the goal here is to reduce noise across the board. Whether it's hiding weekends or grouping red widgets together, it's about filtering out the chaos so you can actually see the signal.
It is a very fair assessment.
So we have the brain. MXAPS is the brain. But a brain needs a nervous system. It needs to know what the hands are actually doing. How does this fit into the rest of the factory ecosystem?
The source highlights that scheduling absolutely cannot exist in a vacuum. It mentions the connected supply chain. Specifically, integration with execution tools like shop floor insight.
That's the execution piece on the floor?
Yes, you make the perfect plan in MXAPS, great. But then reality happens. A worker finishes a job an hour early, or a job takes twice as long because a tool broke. Shop floor insight feeds that data back into the schedule in real time.
So the schedule updates on the fly.
Instantly. If a job finishes, it drops off the queue. If it's delayed, the schedule seamlessly bumps the next jobs back. It becomes a living organism, not just a static PDF you printed at 6 a.m. and handed out.
And it mentioned Maintenance Manager and Warehouse Insight too.
Right. If the maintenance team schedules an oil change for Tuesday morning in their app, MXAPS sees that. It puts a resource fence around that machine. It simply won't schedule production during that maintenance window.
It stops the left hand from fighting the right hand.
Exactly.
Now, I have to play devil's advocate for a second. This all sounds amazing. It also sounds incredibly expensive and complicated. The phrase heavy customization usually translates to bring your checkbook and prepare to wait 6 months.
That is always the fear with ERP extensions. But the analysis points out a few much lower barriers to entry here. First, if you are already using Business Central, the core data structure is already there. You don't have to rebuild your entire database from scratch. It pulls your existing items, your routings, your work centers.
So it's plug and play-ish.
Much more so than a standalone third-party system would be, yes. But the pricing model is really the interesting disruptor here.
How so? What makes it different?
Historically, complex scheduling software like this is priced per user. If you want 20 people to be able to see the schedule, you have to buy 20 expensive licenses.
Which gets expensive really fast.
And it leads to license hoarding. You only give licenses to the top managers, so the salespeople and the actual floor staff are kept completely in the dark. MXAPS uses a subscription model based on scheduled production orders.
Wait, so it is based purely on volume?
Correct. You pay for the work you actually do through the system. You do not pay for the number of people looking at the screen.
That is huge for transparency. You could have the entire sales team, the customer service reps, and the shop floor leads all looking at the exact same schedule without paying a single dime extra in licensing.
It democratizes the data. Everyone sees the exact same truth at the exact same time.
So if we zoom out a bit, we started with the Sunday scaries on a Tuesday. That sinking feeling that you are constantly just reacting to disaster.
And we've walked through how the default tools often accidentally encourage that chaos by pretending capacity is infinite.
We looked at the solution, finite capacity scheduling, actually acknowledging reality, grouping work intelligently, using Steve the operator efficiently across multiple machines.
And giving sales the power to actually simulate the future before they promise it to a client.
It really seems like the core message across all these sources is that you cannot wish your way to efficiency. You can't just set an arbitrary due date and hope the laws of physics bend to meet it.
Precision beats optimism every single time. The stats we quoted, cutting planning time in half, improving delivery by 30%, those don't come from working harder or yelling louder. They come from letting the algorithm handle the extreme complexity so the humans can handle the exceptions.
It's about building a system that knows your machines need to sleep, your people need to eat lunch, and your paintbrushes need cleaning.
And understanding that those constraints aren't failures, they are just variables that need to be managed.
So here is the question we want to leave you with today. We've talked a lot about software pretending machines have infinite capacity. But look at your own workflow. Look at how you schedule your own day or your team's creative projects.
Ooh, that's an interesting pivot.
Are you using an infinite capacity mental model on your own brain? Are you packing 8 hours of deep, complex work into an 8-hour day, completely forgetting that human beings have resource fences too? We need setup time, we need context switching time, and we occasionally need to go down for maintenance.
If the software needs to know the machine needs a break, maybe your calendar needs to know you do too.
Exactly, because the real world and your actual finite capacity is going to happen whether you plan for it or not.
Very true.
That is a very expensive lesson to learn the hard way. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the nuts and bolts of manufacturing efficiency. We hope you found some concrete tools to help solve your own production puzzles.
Until next time, keep optimizing.